After Arsenal played their strongest possible team in the League Cup semi-final first leg last night and were trounced by the Geordies, will Liverpool do the same tonight against Spurs? Reports suggest if Tottenham don't get a good result in the two legs of the semi-final, they've lined up two potential replacements for big Ange Postecoglou. Meanwhile, the transfer hunt moves on apace, with the manager hinting a new forward could be in the door imminently. I'll discuss a couple of rumoured deals. And elsewhere, Brentford's outstanding Bryan Mbeumo could be available for as little as £43 million. A steal, surely. All this and more on today's episode of Daily Premier League Transfer News. Guys, thank you so much for watching and for listening. If you're on YouTube, please do give this video a like. Please do press subscribe. I'm getting closer and closer to that 15,000 subscribers mark. Help me get there if you like. Daily Premier League Transfer News, always starting, of course, with my team, Tottenham Hotspur. And let's get started with that news that Tottenham have indeed, according to reports, been succession planning for if they have to pull the trigger on Ange Postecoglou. As I've said in all of these videos recently, losing Ange at this point is not for me. I don't see there's a great deal of reason to do that. I know the form's been bad, but the injuries have been equally bad. And also, I just don't think anyone will be available for the kind of compensation that Spurs will be willing to pay right now. However, in the interests of potentially having to get rid of him, the board and Scott Munn and Johan Langer have drawn up a list for succession plans, and that list involves Thomas Frank of Brentford and Andoni Iraola of Bournemouth. For me, they are the right kind of names to be in the hunt, and you can see why, can't you? After what happened with Spurs when they lost Villas-Boas and they brought Sherwood in, and then they finally had their piece of luck. Daniel Levy had his piece of luck or good judgment, whichever way you want to see it. Let me know whether you think it was luck or judgment in the comments, guys. He got Mauricio Pochettino from Southampton. And the work that Pochettino had done at Southampton was pretty incredible. He'd totally brought down the average age of the squad, and he'd got them playing a high-intensity, high-press style of play on the pitch, and they were winning big games. And that is what impressed Daniel Levy then, and that is why I think particularly Iraola will be impressing him at Bournemouth now, but also Thomas Frank, who of course has done it over a longer period of time. And the thing that interests me with Frank, and why he'll probably be interesting the Spurs sporting directors and the board, is that he is quite malleable as a manager. I've mentioned this before, but I'll say it again. When he brought Brentford up from the Championship, they were playing a very beautiful kind of passing, attacking style of play, and then he realised very quickly when they came up to the Premier League that would not keep them up. So he was he changed it. He was able to then change it to a more direct style of play, utilise kind of Mbeumo, utilise even Tony's physical attributes and play a little bit more direct. And then as they've kind of kept their place in the Premier League and improved their squads, they are trying to move further towards a more passing and pressing style of play once again. So they're the names, Frank and Iraola. Let me know, Spurs fans, what you think in the comments. If we were to have to lose big Ange Postecoglou, and all reports suggest that if we were to get blown away in the first leg of tonight's League Cup semi-final, and if we had no chance of getting to that final, then maybe that is a point at which the club might be tempted to pull that trigger. If that were to happen, would Frank and Iraola be on your list? And do you think there's any chance of getting either of those two managers out of their clubs this January or February in the instance that Tottenham were to go out of that League Cup and the board were to decide we need something different for the second half of the season? Because for me, as I mentioned, there's no point in us sacking big Ange Postecoglou if you're then going to just bring in an interim manager. It doesn't work. It's not going to work for Spurs. It hasn't worked for Man United the numerous times they've done it with the likes of Ralph Rangnick, etc., etc. So for me, only lose big Ange Postecoglou, which is not what I want to happen, by the way, but only lose him if you have a replacement lined up who can step straight into the breach, similar to what happened when they brought Conte in for Nuno. On to some more kind of transfer-based rumours now. And it is possible, according to Golazo America, that Johnny Cardoso does leave Real Betis this January. As I mentioned in yesterday's video, Cardoso, of course, Spurs have a first dibs deal on the number 6. Tottenham are interested in potentially bringing him this January, but there's also other interest from clubs in England and Spain. Now, I was listening to the brilliant podcast, The Extra Inch, with Windy and Nathan yesterday, and they were saying that actually Cardoso is he is a destroyer, he is a hard-working number 6, he is a good player, but he doesn't have the perfect fit in their mind for Ange ball, in that he doesn't play brave, progressive passes. Similar to Radu Dragićin then, really, isn't it? And that'll be, I think, a decision for the recruitment team as to whether they want to bring Cardoso in and hope that he becomes better on the ball and braver with his passes through the line if he were to come to Spurs. Let me know in the comments whether you think Cardoso is the kind of player we should be bringing into Tottenham right now, or whether we should wait till the summer and see about buying him then. Over to Paris, and of course the rumours of Kolo Muani coming to Spurs will not go away. PSG continue to insist that any deal must be a loan with an obligation to buy. That's what Plettigol was saying yesterday. Plettigol, if you don't follow him, is the big German ITK. Tottenham, though, also, according to reports, have been very impressed by Ipswich's Liam Delap. The ex-Manchester City striker has several clubs interested in him right now. I believe he also has a buyback clause for Manchester City. Chelsea apparently will be the early front runners for Delap, but don't discount Spurs, say some of the reputable journalists. I do like the look of Liam Delap. Big number 9, kind of a Harry Kane-esque elements to his hold-up play and his target man play. A little bit quicker than Harry Kane. However, be interesting to see whether Spurs are willing to bring in a genuine number 9 option to fight with Dominic Solanke, rather than what we seem to have been going for, and Kolo Muani is a good example of this, someone who can play all across that front line, both left and up front, or right and up front. Which is kind of similar to what Richarlison can do as well. What I would say about these kind of rumours is that it's not looking good for Richarlison's future at Spurs, is it? I've said it a few times on my channel, but he just doesn't get on the pitch enough for big Ange Postecoglou, and I fear for Rishi. I think he'll go the same way as Giovanni Lo Celso, which is that in the summer we will look to get any money we possibly can in for him. Over to Southampton. This is an interesting one because they are expecting to receive cut price bids this month for their 27-year-old versatile fullback and Spurs Academy graduate, English fullback Kyle Walker-Peters. His contract expires this summer. Now, this has to be one, I think, that's interesting Tottenham Hotspur, because he's a homegrown player, an academy talent, and he could fit straight into Tottenham's squad, both in the Premier League and in Europe. And if his contract runs out in the summer, why wouldn't they get him in potentially as, squad backup for, Destiny Udogie and Pedro Porro and Jed Spence? The problem is, I guess, from my point of view, is he left Spurs in the first place and went to Southampton because he didn't get any opportunities at Tottenham. So would he be willing to come back to Spurs when he knows realistically he's not going to be a first team player? It really depends on his motivation, I guess. He is a highly rated player. He's done really well at Southampton, really built up his career there. And now, whether Tottenham would be able to persuade him to come back, I do not know. Let me know in the comments, Spurs fans. Would you like Kyle Walker-Peters back at the club? A potential deal that I talked about yesterday that I thought Fabio Paratici was trying to get involved with for Spurs has now not occurred. Basically, Inter Milan midfielder David Fratesi has rejected the opportunity to come to Spurs. Apparently, Tottenham were presented with the opportunity to sign the Italian, but he prefers to remain in Italy. So for Fabio Paratici and his iPhone headphones, they will have to move on to other Italian options. Big Ange Postecoglou did a big press conference yesterday. Double big for Big Ange. I always say big Ange Postecoglou. Before tonight's League Cup semi-final against Liverpool. And he was asked about whether he is planning on bringing in some help for Dominic Solanke, who's basically had to play every game this season. He said this: hopefully in the very near future we get some help for Dom. When he was quizzed on whether that meant new signings or players returning from injury, Postecoglou said both. He went on to say, look, we're still trying to help the squad and help the players. We're down significant numbers. We'll have roughly 10 first-team players missing tomorrow. That's not easy, so we'll still be looking to try and help the playing group. The club is working hard in a number of areas. So, as I said in the opening, Tottenham still working hard to try and get players in, not only to help the squad now, but who in the long term can improve our first team, improve the depth to our squad, and that is something we need. Yesterday, I'm sure any of you who are regular watchers will have seen that I did a whole start to my video about the chances of Son Heung-min moving to Barcelona on a free this summer, and then literally I dropped the video and 20 minutes later Tottenham announced that they had extended his contract. They'd used the 1-year option on his contract, so now Sonny's contract ends at the summer 2026, and he said, I'm very grateful, I love this club. Ange Postecoglou said the main ambition is to make sure Sonny finishes his career here with some silverware. and I've said it before and I'll say it now, I'm going to be overly positive because this may be the last opportunity to do so, but I think that this could be a Tottenham versus Newcastle League Cup final this year. Carabao Cup final of Tottenham versus Newcastle in what will then be billed the no trophy desperation derby. And I think if that does indeed happen, then Tottenham will win that League Cup final because Newcastle will be so gagging and desperate to win it that they won't turn up on the day as well as Spurs do. And also that performance against Newcastle at the weekend, but also earlier in the season, showed that Spurs are a better side than Newcastle. And all we have to do is tweak the kind of the important parts at both ends. And if we can somehow turn Liverpool over in this two-legged semi-final. And maybe our best chance for that will be if Liverpool do not play their full team tonight. Maybe Slot will see what happened with Arsenal playing their number one team last night and getting turned over because perhaps they weren't motivated enough because it was only the League Cup. Maybe he'll choose to kind of mix and match his squad like Arne Slot did in his last match against Southampton. Maybe this is wishful thinking from me, but why not? It's the morning of the League Cup semi-final. Why not be bold? Let me know in the comments. Do you think Liverpool will play their full team tonight? And do you think Spurs can do enough to stay in the tie tonight at home, by which I mean either get a win or a draw or not be beaten by more than one goal, to then go to Anfield at the beginning of February when Liverpool will basically have a far more games to play that will be important to them in terms of the league title race, in terms of the Champions League, and maybe then they'll have to mix and match their team. Anyway, moving on, Ange was asked more about the transfer window. Ange Postecoglou said, he was asked if he wants to bring another left back. He said it depends. We're in a tricky situation where we've got Ben Davies who can play left back as well, so we've got this situation where potentially we could have three very, very good defenders coming back into the fold quickly. Obviously, destiny is going to be a bit longer, so it's a balancing act of how much we can get through. I just don't want to get it wrong. The beauty of bringing in someone like Tony, that's Kinski, the goalkeeper, was that he was part of our plans anyway. I'm really reluctant to just bring in another body for the sake of it. It's got to be somebody who either fits into what we're doing or he's going to help us straight away. They're kind of the criteria we're looking at. I think that is an interesting dance that Tottenham have to do right now in terms of left back particularly. But we do just need bodies, and we need them to be bodies that will benefit Tottenham for the future. So I think for me, it'll all be about how much do these opportunities that come up benefit the future of Spurs. A player who has been on Tottenham's list for a long time, Abdulkadir Kuzanov, who's now interested in Manchester City. Well, that interest from City has hiked up the fee that Lens are looking to get, and they want in excess of 40 million euros now for Kuzanov. And the Athletic say that as a result, Spurs are not going to go for him. I saw that upset a number of people on social media yesterday. Let me know what you think. Is that frustrating to you that Spurs aren't willing to spend 40 million euros plus on a player who could, in essence, be fourth choice centre-back? It does seem a little out there to me, but what can you do? When you're battling Man City for a player, I don't think you've got a chance anyway. Ange was asked more about Tottenham's new goalkeeper, Kinski. He said this: he's one that we earmarked to possibly bring in the summer. We've tracked him all season, and he's definitely someone we're really excited about. Obviously, with our current goalkeeping situation, we explored the possibility of bringing him in this January. It wasn't easy because he's doing very well for his club, and his club are doing well. They're in Europe and top of their league. The club worked really hard to get the deal done this window, and it's a huge benefit to us and adds real quality to our goalkeeper. Kinski himself revealed that the former Spurs keeper and the goalkeeping coach at Slavia Prague, Radek Cherny, remember him, older Spurs fans? He encouraged him to make the move to North London. He said, I didn't have so much time to speak about the move with others because we had a break in the Czech league, so the coach was probably on vacation at the time. I didn't want to interrupt him. But today I spoke with Radek. He told me good words about Spurs. He told me as well to go for it. He's a great guy. He was my keeper coach in Slavia for 4 years when I wasn't on loan. A great guy, a great coach, and his opinion on the move was an important thing for me. Also, it's been revealed that Antonin Kinski, or Tony, as he likes to be called, as Ange Postecoglou showed, he comes from a similar ex-footballer background, family background, as Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall. And Ange was asked about that. He said, I think it's a big part. We've put stock in the current players that we've brought in. We're trying to build a team of people who are very ambitious and have a clear goal in their heads about where they want their careers to go. We've seen that already with Lucas and Archie. It's much about their performance, but also the way they've embraced the whole challenge. It's certainly not like your normal 18-year-olds. They've shown a real maturity and also an ambition to make an impact. Talking to Tony and looking into his background made me feel the same about him. Now, as I've mentioned in the title, I watched a social media video yesterday that Tottenham put out of Min-hyeok in training. And the video is only a short one, but check it out if you haven't. But it's basically him getting in at the far post, Brennan Johnson style, and finishing off a difficult finish at the far post. And he showed, I have to say, blistering acceleration pace and a great finish. And part of me thinks, is he involved in first team training, and is Ange Postecoglou thinking, he is already a better option for us than Timo Werner? And could Yang Min-hyeok surprise us all with an early start for Spurs? Could he be on the bench or even potentially start tonight against Liverpool? It seemed unlikely just a few days ago because Ange Postecoglou did a press conference where he said it's going to be too soon for him. He's going to take some adaptation. But I have to say, that finish at the back post, and sure, it was only one video, but I was very impressed with it indeed. And he looked incredibly composed, but more than anything, it was his blistering acceleration pace that really impressed me. And we do not have that at the moment. Wilson Odobert, obviously injured. He's our main kind of acceleration pace player who we have on the books. And maybe Yang Min-hyeok should at least be on the bench so that we have a different kind of option for this game, because one of the most important games in Tottenham's recent history. Another player who will give us an option on that left-hand side, though, is Mikey Moore. And Ange Postecoglou has revealed that he could well be on the bench tonight. The attacker last featured in a matchday squad back on the 3rd of November, but he since got an illness. And Postecoglou said this Mikey potentially could be available to be on the bench. In other team news, Maddison and Sarr are both suspended, so they join the absentees for tonight, including Vicario, Davis, Romero, Udogie, Van de Ven, Richarlison, and as I mentioned, Odobert. So Spurs will have to mix and match, of course, and I wonder whether that could persuade Liverpool to mix and match their first team as well, knowing that they're not going to face a hugely strong Spurs side. Ange was asked about Liverpool scoring 6 last time they came to the Tottenham Stadium, and whether Spurs need to just hang in there in the first leg to set up this semi-final second leg. He said, yes, that's the case irrespective of how you play. There's a second leg. That doesn't change our approach tomorrow. We're at home, and in a two-legged affair, if you can get some kind of advantage in your home game, you're set up pretty well. So that's what we'll try to do. For me, I think it's vital that Ange plays a little bit more... I don't know, I want him to tweak a little bit more and play the double pivot of Bentancur and Bissouma in front of the back four. Give them a little bit more protection. Ange was asked on the league form not being so spectacular, so therefore is the cup distraction some respite? He said, yes, our league results have been poor. There's no hiding from that. It's a separate competition tomorrow night. We've done well to get to the semi-final stage. We've beaten some Manchester clubs to do that. It hasn't been an easy road to the semis. We've got an opponent that's been the standout performer in all competitions, so it's a great test for us, but it's a semi-final first leg and should be exciting. I'm looking forward to it. He said, I don't know if it's a nice time to play them, when he was asked whether it could be a good time to play them after their Liverpool United game on Sunday. I thought it was a good game, and I thought United really lifted their intensity levels and caused them problems. But at the same time, with Liverpool, you can see the quality they possess. They still created opportunities. They're always a threat. So, let me know in the comments, guys, how do you think tonight's League Cup semi-final first leg will go? I'm going to choose to be positive and say that Spurs find a way to stay in it and therefore take our second leg to Anfield, where we can have more players back. We could have the likes of Van de Ven, Davis, Romero, Richarlison, all back for that game. So that's the key thing. Stay in it. Before I get on to some other Premier League transfer news, guys, please do give this video a like if you haven't already. Please do press subscribe. Like I said, trying to get to 15,000 subscribers. All your help and support is so appreciated, guys. So if you like daily Premier League transfer videos, always starting, of course, with my beloved Spurs, press that subscribe button. Okay, let's go over to Man United, and they are reportedly willing to pay £43 million to sign Bryan Mbeumo from Brentford. He'd be a great signing for them, and I think Tottenham should be sniffing around Mbeumo as well. Can play all across the front line and is an absolute workhorse. United also interested in Bournemouth's Hungarian left-back Milos Kerkez, and Bournemouth want £40 million for the 22-year-old. That's the reality with Man United. The minute they show interest in a player, the money, the valuation hikes up. That's something they've been dealing with for years, and that won't change under Ineos. United, though, here's some really big news according to David Ornstein, so very reliable. They will reluctantly consider selling Kobe Mainoo, Alejandro Garnacho, and Rasmus Højlund. United's financial situation means the possibility cannot be discounted if suitable offers arrive for their homegrown players. They showed by selling Mason Mount that they're not they've shown, sorry, that's completely wrong. I was getting confused with Chelsea there. But Man United have shown since Ineos have come in that they're not afraid to make big pay cuts. They've basically done it a lot with the backroom staff, and they'd be willing to sell those three kind of what I would describe as young gems. And as a Spurs fan, I would be putting some money in for for Mainu, see if he wants to come the future of Tottenham Hotspur's number 6 position. But apparently Chelsea, of course, whenever a young talent comes in, they are leading the race to sign Kobbie Mainu if he should leave Manchester United. Meanwhile, Marcus Rashford's agent has had talks with AC Milan about a potential loan move. Borussia Dortmund and Juventus also interested. Over to Everton, they've opened talks with Aston Villa's Jadon Philogene about a permanent move rather than a loan, apparently. That shows that Everton's new owners looking to get involved early with some permanent moves. All the talk coming out of Everton is that Sean Dyche is under real pressure, and it looks like West Ham are going to sack their manager today, Lopetegui. Filming this at about 9:30 in the morning. He may even have been sacked by the time this video comes out. And Graham Potter, who is interesting Everton, looks like he might take over at West Ham. No agreement at the moment over at Fulham. No agreement between Palmeiras and Fulham for Andreas Pereira, but it does look like he is going to go back to Brazil. And finally, over to South London and Arsenal. They are interested in Athletic Bilbao winger Nico Williams. The 22-year-old does want to come to the Premier League, but Arsenal will be unable to bid for the Spaniard this month because of financial constraints, which is a good thing, because Nico Williams at Arsenal would not be something I would want to see. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, please do give this video a like. Please do subscribe. Help get me to that 15,000 subscribers mark. I want to make a real community here. Talk about all the Premier League transfers, all stuff about Tottenham, and also other Premier League news that is doing the rounds. Guys, you can also find this on the audio platforms. Come and give me a subscribe or follow on Apple Podcasts or Spotify too. Just type in the Spurred On podcast. Anyway, with the semi-final of the League Cup first leg coming tonight for Spurs, let's hope it's a good one. Have a great hump day. Cheers.